クソゲーマーの実力見せてやるよ。
Hello everybody, Vigo Shadow here, and today is the long-awaited release for Trash Game Hunter Sunraku. Now this one's going to be a green attacker unit. I know I haven't got to these videos as soon as I wanted to, but you know, sometimes just life happens. A lot of things going on for me, but I'm finally getting around to it. But we should be expecting another Shangri-La character. The name of it's going to be K. I'll pull up the image here. We see her on the titles, or yeah, her on the title screen quotations because the real person's name is K. I'm not sure what the online handle is. I know somebody probably in the comments can correct me there, but either way, we should probably we're probably getting another character, I would assume, for these three, because you see it in the mini game that I played last time with the selection of 3 characters. So they're probably keeping K for the end or later down the road, and I'll try to get to that upload a little bit more consistent. Either way, let's just dive right into the profile stats for Trash Game Hunter Sunraku. Alright, let's go with the max stats here. We got power to healing boost, and then healing boost to overheal, and then we have the grouping of human and other. Now I find the other one kind of be like a little bit more weird because it's just more of a broad tag, and I don't think it's going to ever be used, or you know, it's just kind of weird. Either way, there is a new feature with Sunraku here, and I will get to that right now, just to describe what they mean by this new parry mechanic. Alright, so here's where they have this right here. It's a crit attacker with the new parry effect. Now, I will go ahead and just, instead of just cutting right away to the status effects and where to view them, I will show you where to actually get them, or like if you need help finding certain ones, like certain status effects that you're not sure of, here's where you're going to go here. You're going to go to Battle, and then Status Ailments and Special Effects. This is going to be a great place for you to figure out what exactly parry means, and like maybe some of these other status effects that you've probably seen around. So it's a good idea to go check here under the Help tab here. It's going to be probably at the end here. Alright, so this is his new thing here. It's a parry. So when damage is received during the effect duration, nullifies the damage and the effect once. So you're gonna get this buff right here, and then once somebody attacks you, you won't receive damage. This buff will go away, and then you know, after the nullification, removes 1 parry from self. So you could have like stacks of parry. So you could have like maybe like 2 parry stacks, and then when somebody goes to attack that specific unit, it's gonna parry it. And then hit the, I would assume hit the other player, because that's, or unless it's just deflecting. We will see, because it's just like it nullifies the damage and the effect once. It doesn't say anything about damaging the other player, so that'd probably be like a counter or something. So this is just parrying stuff, it seems. So let's just take a look. Yeah, let's go right to the character. All right, so here we have Trash Game Hunter Sunraku. Now this is I'm going to go right away into his special abilities, of course. Let's go, I want to check out his hidden technique and his attacks, and it looks like a counter, and then his passive. So let's check out Vorpal Crescent. Now with Vorpal Crescent, you raise your own crit attack by 80% for 10 seconds. Inflicts 1,600% damage on a single enemy. So right off the bat, I'm going to say, keep in mind, this is crit attack. This is not crit rate. So that's very, very important to note. So you got to make it to where you're hitting crits. So if your crit rate is low, and you don't have like something like Shadow Festival Zeta, you're probably not going to be hitting crits, which is actually really crucial, because you're going to need crit rate. If you don't have crit rate, so if you don't have, like, especially when you have Shadow Festival Zeta, that's going to make things a lot easier. If you don't have a lot of crit rate, it's going to affect everything, because you won't be able to utilize this crit attack by 80% for 10 seconds. So but if you do hit a crit in that 10 seconds, it is going to hit hard. And I mean hard. I mean, it's going to be really bad when you have like a crit rate. And let's see what this was like when it's awakened here. So yep, that's a guaranteed. If you hit your crit, So if your crit procs, that crit attack is going to be by 100%, so it's going to hit probably twice or twice as hard or whatever. It's gonna really be good on bosses if you have that crit rate really high and you're able to consistently churn out those like high crit attacks. That is insane. I don't think we've seen a unit like that where it kind of maxes out their crit attack by 100%, like guaranteed, like pretty much guaranteed, like super hard hit. Well, I wouldn't say guaranteed because this is not crit rate again. This is just crit attack, which is probably going to make it double then. That's crazy. Further inflicts 2,000% damage on a single enemy. Now, when it comes to like the damage portion of this move here, it's actually pretty standard. I'd say like standard. You'd find this on like standard attackers, so nothing special there. So it's mainly the crit attack factor. That is like a super high value there. Like it's gonna hurt both ways. I mean, 80% or 100%. I mean, I think it's just 20%, so it's just a small bit more. But either way, so you might actually want to see this one somewhere like in the mid, like maybe A3 or A4, A2, but not right away. There might be some better ones, but we got to see what they look like awakened here. But like either way, this crit attack, 80%, very very strong. Now it'd be it's only a 20% jump here, but still, that's something to note right there. That crit attack. So you need to have a unit that's backing this one up that is able to get the crit rate up there. So if you have Shadow Festival Zeta, this is definitely a very, very good pairing, obviously. So we have Drill Piercer, and what this one does is it lowers the crit defense of a single enemy by 20% for 15 seconds. Now, okay, so right there, right off the bat, if you're lowering somebody's crit defense on a single enemy, especially the boss, and you're coming in with that crit attack, and you get guaranteed crits, if you're hitting crits with that 10%, or for the 10 seconds, and have like 100 or 80% crit attack, that is going to sting. You're going to be melting bosses' health if you have you're lowering their crit defense, you're doing crits, and the crit attack is very high. It's just a recipe for really good damage. As far as this goes, this is like 300% damage here. So you get 20% for 15 seconds. Actually, that's actually a pretty good length of time. That's like a fourth of the wave. So that's not bad at all. When it's awakened, it lowers the crit defense by 30. That 10% jump is considerable. The damage, not so much. You're only gaining 100% more damage. Damage is damage, but still, the 30% is probably the best part of that, lowering the crit defense. But, you gotta make sure that your crits are hitting. So this is a very, if you're just getting this character just to get it and you like it, it could be a risk, especially if you don't have anybody, or maybe his magic gear might be able to give him more crit rates, but we'll have to see. Let's just check out his other abilities before we make any final assessments there. And it looks like this next move is Climax Boost, and this is the parry move. So we already went over what parry does. That's going to, basically you're going to get stacks of parry on this character only, not to others. And when the enemies hit you, you're going to get rid of a stack of parry, and you're going to nullify the damage. Now, what I could see that's going to be very bad is if you're facing people in arena and they have like a 4-hit combo. That's going to go parry, 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 gone. All your parries are gone. But, it seems like for this specific one, you get 1 parry for 15 seconds, and then it further grants 2 more if your HP falls below 50%. I'm not sure how much this move is going to go off, but, I mean, it seems like, for 15 seconds, it's a fourth of the wave, so you might see it pop up like maybe, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe. It depends. It depends on the speed of the party, too, so, there's a lot of factors there. But either way, this is the big part here. The parry's nice. It definitely is nice for PvP. That is for sure, because you're going to be taking other people's moves and then nullifying that damage, and it kind of gives you an edge. I think it might be better than your character having a shield. Now, don't quote me on that. Depending on how potent the shield is, but if it's 100% shield, you might want parry, especially if somebody comes in with an attack that's like really heavy, a really heavy hitting attack. and especially if they're attacking the highest attacker, and this happens to be that. Either way, moving on, it raises your own attack by 30% for 15 seconds. So not only do you get something that nullifies an entire move, you get, 30% boost in your attack, which is going to be nice, because essentially, people, you're going to be able to utilize that 30%, while also, reducing your own damage, which is very nice. Let's see what this looks like when it's awakened. Looks like you get another parry for the standard, so you get a total of 4 parries if your HP is below 50%. Now, what's even better is this jump here, from a 20% jump to raises your own attack by 50%. Now, this is a very, very good setup for disaster. Imagine this. Climax boost. You're raising your own attack by 50%. Then, you have your crit attack up 100% for 10 seconds. You lower their crit defense, and then somebody's guaranteeing that you're getting the crit. That will melt bosses, I guarantee you. That is insane, especially if you can... Oh, what? We didn't see that yet. I didn't want to move on that quickly. We didn't see... If somebody raises, Sunraku's attack even further, if you have other members that can raise the attack even more, like maybe Garden Genesis or Shadow in the Sun, that you can do more damage inflicted, oh, wow, that's just going to be insane. That is going to be insane, and I feel like this is definitely a boss hunting character, which is really nice. But again, I'm going to mention that this is crit attack, not crit rate, so you need somebody to back you up for the crit rate, or there's got to be something else in his kit that's going to allow him to do better crits, or crits more consistently. Now, let's check out his last move, finally. Each time a parry is granted... Okay, so this is better. This is better now, right? It doesn't have to be used. Each time it's granted, so you're going to get 1 or 2. So you're going to probably want this move probably boosted right away. You're probably going to want to see that early on the skill tree. Each time it's granted, you're raising your own crit rate by 10%. There it is. There it is. There's the crit rate. That's where it comes in. So it's gonna be relying on how much you're parrying, or how much you're getting in that parry granted to you. So you're obviously going to want double, and it seems like you might want him to be lower health, which is, it's very much so a risk, because you don't want your characters to get in that space below 50%. But what I could also see is, you're running a team. This might allow teams for 5 attacker teams, or 1 tank, 4 attackers, so that nobody's getting heals, but everybody's consistently taking damage, and then he'll eventually get there, and then his crit rate will go up, and then you're going to be able to synergize with all of his kit, which would be absolutely nice. But this is a very low percentage, so let's see what it looks like awakened here. So it doesn't really do much there, but it further raises the crit attack. Now, wow, that is nice, and that's permanent. So you're definitely going to want that parry move right away on the skill tree if you do find it. So each time a parry is granted, you're raising crit rate by 10% and crit attack by 10%. That's going to be really good with the crit attack, because, I mean, the more crit attack you're stacking on there, and if you're hitting that crit, it's going to melt them bosses. That's going to be nice. Especially if you're able to make it work. Now, before I get into the should you pull for Sunraku type of thing, we're gonna definitely go into here, because I definitely have missed it a couple times. Let's go ahead and check out the art. Obviously, this is not that. It's this one. So we're gonna check out the art here. I do like a different background for once. So he's in obviously a field. There's some mountains, clouds, and stuff, and he has his blades. A little bit of effect there. I'd probably give this artwork maybe a rating of either 7.5 out of 10, or maybe an 8. Usually with the artwork, I'm not going into a very harsh analysis. I just kind of like to do that. I do I would probably like more background used, but it's just a very beautiful landscape. So there's not much to complain there. Now let's go into, actually not his awakening roadmap yet. Luckily I wasn't able to see what was the first one. We're actually going to check out his combo effect and then his normal here. So this is 75. Obviously strike combo is not going to change. Usually with Shadow Festivals you can. This is very interesting. In fact, this is 2 pieces of magic gear that he can have. Now, that's actually insane, so I gotta check out what this is. I'm very curious, but let's just see. This is a good thing to note. This is only 100% damage, but it's a 3-hit damage combo, which I find I like those a little bit better because each one of these has a chance to hit. So I feel like if you have a character that's based off of, like, you know, doing crits and doing, you know, having high crit attack, the more, like, multiple hit combos you have, the more chances, like, you might have. So he does have a 4-hit for one of his abilities, and then he has a normal attack that does a 3-hit. So that's actually a very nice touch for a normal attack. Alright, now let's see his linked gear, because it looks like he has 2 pieces here. Let's check out the first one, and let's max it out. So each time a crit is triggered, raises own damage inflicted by 10% for 15 seconds. Could you imagine how bad or how busted that'd be if that was permanent? Wow. Wow. Even then, you can, like let's say you have a 3-hit combo or that 4-hit combo. Like, he's doing 3-hit combos normally. So if each one of those hits from the normal is triggered and they're each a crit, that's 30% damage inflicted. And with his let's say he goes from his 3-hit combo to 4-hit combo, and all of them are crits because you have 100%. That's 70% damage inflicted. So this is definitely a game changer for the magic, you know, for the magic gear. And this is each time a crit is triggered. I see no CT, so there's no cooldown on this. If you're consistently hitting crits, that is going to be busted. Like I said, this character is definitely a type of character that will melt bosses. You just gonna have to, the biggest issue that I see is the crit rate. So let's see if his other weapon has anything to do with crit rate, because that's probably going to be the better choice. Okay, so each time crit is triggered, recovers own HP by 30% of attack, and you can raise that attack, so it's going to be 50% of the attack. So that's actually nice because it does keep him alive, but the thing is one of his abilities, you know, really relies on him to get below 50% to get more parries and stuff. But, like, even if you're just skipping that step and not getting those extra parries below 50% and keeping it safe, which most of the time I feel like that's going to be the case, this is a character that can heal himself and doesn't need any help from the healer as long as you're doing crits. So that there's that part of it. Now let's check out what his awakening roadmap is going to be. Ooh, I like this. I like a lot of characters that can do A1. So if you get him A1, it's actually going to be very beneficial because you have both pieces of link gear that you could just slap on him. That is good. Having A1 magic gear slot right away, so you can have two of those really good magic gears, especially this Moonblade waxing. And then you have waning. I mean, waning's pretty good. It at least gives you the heal, you know, if you do the crits. And I feel like you wouldn't need the healer at that point if you're doing crits consistently. Then we have A2, so that's his hidden technique. It'll get your crit attack up to 100%, so that's actually nice because you're going to be doing more damage. 20% boost. It will probably go to show, but we're going to want that parry technique. That's where we're going to want to see. So climax boost, there it is, A3, very good to know. This is probably the best part of his kit. Getting him to A3 is going to be very difficult and tricky, but if you can, it may prove itself useful with this extra parry, because each time parry is granted, you're going to be getting, you know, that 10%, or so. But let's just keep going. A4, we have Drill Piercer, and that's going to boost the crit defense, or lowering it by 10%. I say the A4 is pretty decent. But what's better is obviously his Trash Game Hunter, his awakened special ability here, which is his passive. This is probably, oh wait, no, sorry. His best one is A3, obviously. So, and then another one would be this one, A5, because it further raises your crit attack by even more, which would be absolutely insane. So, if by the time you get to A5, you're going to be doing, you're going to already be doing 100% crit attack once you do the ultimate. And then even more, you know, each time you get a parry, so, and it's permanent, so it's going to stack pretty quickly. So we're talking like maybe last 10 seconds of the round, or last 15, last 30, whatever, depending on how many parries you get. And you're going to have this move here, which is going to grant you a second parry. So obviously, any character ideally is really good when you A5 them. Sometimes it's not necessary, but for this character in specific, if we're just talking like having a unit to melt bosses, I mean, A1 is notable, A3, and then A5, whereas like A4 and A2 are kind of like, A2 is definitely like up there, like, our mid/good, and then A4 is like, you can kind of go without it. It's only like a 10% boost, but still, it's going to show in the damage, and it's, even though it's 10% more, it's still notable. Either way, now let's get into the most important question of all time. Should I pull for this limited character Trash Game Hunter Sunraku? And here's what I'm going to tell you, right? So, if you're not able to do crits, right, and you just can't do crits, I mean, this character on its own has pretty standard damage, and at the very least, it is able to boost your own attack by 30%, which would make this a standard character. And in that case, if you don't have anybody backing you up to get that crit rate out there, this is not worth pulling. And I'm going to repeat that. It is not worth pulling this character if you cannot get him to do his crits. Granted, he has a move, if you A5 him, in his last ability there, that will boost the crit rate by 10% at the base, each time a parry is granted. So, but who knows how many times that is going to be. You would have to at least get, like, so he could do 3 at base, so if you have him below 50%, you get a 30% chance to hit crits if you get him below half. Otherwise, it's a 10% chance to hit crits in the beginning, probably the beginning of the wave. Now, if we're looking like halfway through the wave, that may change a little bit. It might be looking like 30 to 50/60. What this character really needs is more crit rate, and that's what I'm trying to say here. So if you actually have Shadow Festival Zeta from that quadruple banner that we had that one time with 2 Shadow Festivals, and you actually happen to pick her up, this is an excellent character to pair with her. Like Sunraku and Shadow Festival Zeta is going to go very smooth, like bread and butter. I mean, it's going to be a boss melter for green teams. Pair that up with like Awakening Hour Shadow or another SF, man, you're going to be cooking. So, either way, that's all I gotta say for Sunraku. If you have another character that's going to boost him in a way where he is going to be doing more crits, and you're boosting his crit rate up, then he is definitely worth it, because he is going to heavily rely on those crits. The parry alone isn't good enough to, like a good enough standalone feature to make him worth pulling if you're not hitting crits. So if you can hit crits and you have other characters to back him up, go for him, pull him. He is going to be melting bosses left and right. I feel like he's going to be a very, very good unit if you're able to utilize his crit factor. But yeah, that's all I got to say to that. Vigo, signing off.